And a lot of people will attack back and say you're Pollyanna, you are ignoring reality. That's not the case. No one, and I think you would say the same thing. Just because I tell and suggest that we want to be positive, I'm not saying to ignore everything bad. We're just saying, how can we make a positive spin on an uncomfortable situation? How can we be realistic and then control what's in our control?
If you want to raise the bar on your growth, whether it's personal or professional, this is the podcast for you. And now, the host, Juan Alvarado.
Hey, welcome to the Relevant Development Podcast. I am your host, Juan Alvarado. Great guest with me today. Phil is an amazing, we'll just bring him in. Okay, we're just going to bring him in because no introduction needed, but he will probably do a way better job than me. Here comes Phil to the podcast. Hey, Phil, how you doing?
Well, I'm super good, man. Super good to see you. Thanks for having me, brother.
Dude, I love you. You are a whole vibe. From the moment that I found you and we started to connect, actually, I didn't find you. We had a mutual connection, find both of us, and was like, bro, you guys need to meet. Yeah. But the moment I was on your Instagram, I was like, oh, this guy's just built different, completely built different. Great heart. We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, let the audience know about you, who you are, and what you do.
Well, thanks so much. Yeah, friends, my name's Phil Januszewski. Honored to be here. Always looking to spread and create happiness and push it out into the world. And I have my hands in a lot of different things. So by day, I'm a chemistry and physics teacher. I've been an educator in the high school setting since 2005. And then by night, I do a couple other things. I'm a motivational speaker with my best bud. We're called MVP Presentations, where we cultivate confidence in young adults, push them out of their comfort zone to open up their mindset, to take some healthy risks, grow and jump on opportunities. A lot of fun. We're comedy driven, improv driven, and have a great time doing it. And then also for me, I'm pulled on the heartstrings due to the world of education currently. And I love to speak to educators about steps that are tangible and workable within their life to avoid burnout, to feel like they're flourishing more. And because they're personally better, I feel like then they can pour into their students even more, make a bigger impact. So I'm doing that a lot, whether it's speaking to other educators or I'm also putting together a new membership called the Positive Growth Lounge, which I'd love to talk about eventually as well. But that's me in a nutshell, man. I'm a family man, 2 kids, wife, all over the board. When I'm not teaching, when I'm not with my family on adventures, I'm in the kitchen cooking, baking, I'm at the gym working out, or I'm trying to scheme a way to make money so I can pay for some more tattoos, brother, so my wife doesn't kill me.
Hey, I feel you. I got a new one right here. So
yeah, ever since 18, I've always had like a side job for a side kitty, just trying to make some money to get some more work done.
Hey, so can you tell me a little bit before we get into like some of the work? I want to know, have you always been this vibe that I'm talking about, of like this energy? I know that maybe it's you working with high school kids, but where do you feel or think that your energy, your character derives from?
That's a great question. And thank you for that. I'll take that as a compliment. I'm pretty proud of my high energy. I think I've always been a high energy dude ever since I was little. So I think a lot of that is just part of my personality. But I do think that because I fill my life with so many things that I enjoy, that I feel like energize me and build me up, I feel like I have a lot of extra energy to give to others. I'm very naturally extroverted as well. So being around people, I pull from that energy and that elevates me also. And the way I was raised, my family, the research I've looked into and done personally in personal development, I just feel like that all fuels the idea that with a positive mindset, when we're grateful, full of gratitude, and we can try to serve others, I think in the end, you tend to have a lot of energy and you tend to have a lot of positive vibes. So it's all natural. Sure. It's all real. And I'm just grateful that some people aren't too terribly annoyed by it.
Yeah, I was going to say that an introvert's nightmare, like, don't call on me. Don't make me feel uncomfortable. If you're going to do anything, pull me to the side and talk to me one-on-one.
Right.
I think you're just beautifully designed, that high energy, because like I feel good from it. And I feel at times that I'm an extrovert in an introvert's body at times, because I like to get out. I like to be with people, but people that I know and trust. I told my wife after we met in the beginning, I was like, this dude just makes me feel better. And that's coming from, if I can get really serious for a second, that's coming from somebody who used to be really big, humor based, center of attention. Let me show you what I can do, make everybody laugh, to like, I'm the old man in the house, like, get off my lawn kind of deal. And I just lost that. I know that it's in here, but man, anxiety, depression, PTSD, stuff like that, like just life within itself. I'm like, where did my spark go? And so I told my wife, I was like, if we lived closer, like that would be my guy for sure, because I know that he's going to charge me up. And bro, I'm not just saying that either, but just to say that. But I think in high school, like my boys just had their first day of high school.
Oh,
And well, one's a sophomore, first day in high school, the other one's a freshman. But you know, first day of school, it's like, dude, like, bro, the teacher's mad boring and it sucks and it was just this or that. And it's like, more kids, especially young boys and girls for that matter, but young boys need somebody like you. So how do you get your character, your energy, and how do you, even on an off day, and I want you to hit that too, because we all have our off days, even on an off day, what is your go-to say, I need to be there for teachers, employers, or employees, or, students?
yeah, I think that's the job we signed up for as educators. We're there for our kids no matter how we're feeling that day. We've got to pour into them. So I think that I find it really rewarding to be a part of their lives, to try to be a role model, to show them, hey, you can be an adult, you can have a career that you're successful with, respected and appreciated, and also really enjoy it. So I'm pretty transparent with my students. They know too, which I think is a really good sign. I think I have really good human connection relationships with my kids. So they know when I'm having an off day, and I think they naturally back off a little bit. And that's not to say that I'm snapping or biting my heads off, but I think when I have
Right.
a rough day, they know that I'm lower in energy and they can feel it right away. And because of that, I think they really give me grace and often reach out and say, hey, are you okay? Do you need anything? Which is really nice. I'm usually the one pouring. So where does that come from? Where do I get that from? I think it's a form of responsibility, a form of habit, a form of, again, yes, I know I might not be having the best day, but I know that when I give to others, I tend to feel better about myself and my situation too. So I always tell students, when you're having a bad day, the best thing to do is to try to make someone else's day a little bit better. And that's going to make your day better. So I think I can do that. And sometimes we overthink it when we see online and media, like you've got to buy someone a car to make a difference in their life. That's not it. Maybe it's just simply smiling and giving them a few seconds of time to talk. And that's time and attention is a huge commodity. And when you give that to someone wholeheartedly, it means a lot to people, especially now with how distracted we are. So I think I do that and pour into those people. And when I give that time and attention currency, I think it fills me back up too. I hope I answered that question for you.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think a lot of people, when we get into a bad mood, we're having a bad day. I said this the other day, and I've heard this before of like, did you have a bad day, or was it a bad 2 minutes that you strung out into a bad day? And you saw all the negativity, because as soon as we get in a bad day and we have a bad day, it's like, why does everything happen to me? And then all of a sudden we see everything negatively. Traffic for whatever reason is going just a little bit slower, and it's probably not, but you view it that way. Somebody says, hey, how you doing? And you're like, well, why do you have to say that so rudely? And you're like, that's how he always says it. But now our lens, we're looking through things through a negative lens. But the fact, I love that hey, if I pour into somebody else, it's almost like default, I'm gonna feel better about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love how you said that too. That's a negative spiral, right? The idea that once you get that 2 minutes of negativity, your brain is starting to look for more negativity. But the more we're intentional, and I know you work on this personally too, but the more we can callous our brain to get back to, all right, let's focus on some of the goods, the quicker we can snap out of that negativity bias and get back into, all right, well, those 2 minutes were unfortunate, but there's still a lot of good going on. Let's recalibrate so that we can be realistic here.
I have another 13 hours and 55 minutes that I can make this better, right?
Yeah.
And you also said creating or making a habit. Do you have like a go-to as far as like, hey, this is how you would create a positive habit? Because you also said something about challenging your students to take healthy risks. So
Mm.
two parts, like how do we create a habit, and does that kind of leak into taking healthy risks, and what would that be?
Yeah, I think they all tie in together, and definitely personally as a teacher, but also I consider myself not just a chemistry and physics teacher, but a life coach for my students. But then also as a professional speaker with my best bud, we're always trying to push that idea of gratitude. So a simple way to a tangible thing you can do to try to train your brain to look more on the positives is every day when I sit up, the first three things I think about before I can tell my brain, oh, this sucks. I'm tired. I don't feel like getting up, going to the gym. I might be a little overwhelmed with all the things ahead for the day. I don't allow myself to think that, but I force myself to say three things that I'm grateful for.
Mm,
And, a lot of people can say that's cheesy or woo woo, but there's actual science backing that up, right? That when you start thinking of just simple things you're grateful for, the roof over my head, I often think of, I'm glad that this is a comfortable bed. My wonderful wife next to me, my best friend and partner in crime,
mm,
grateful to have her. Two beautiful children behind those walls. It's hard to get negative when you're blocking those with positives. And the more you do that, just started with that in the morning for me about 3 years ago. And now it pops up more and more. So again, those habits
right.
that you're forming of gratitude. And a lot of people will attack back and say you're Pollyanna, you are ignoring reality. That's not the case. No one, and I think you would say the same thing. Just because I tell and suggest that we want to be positive, I'm not saying to ignore everything bad. We're just saying, how can we make a positive spin on an
Right.
uncomfortable situation? How can we be realistic and then control what's in our control? And I think the more intentional we are about that, three steps of gratitude, whatever you want to start doing. Some people like to write out and journal, not personally my thing. Some people like to do meditation. I do a little bit of breathing, but some people do like gratitude meditation. Man, you
Right.
could go in chat GPT and probably say, give me 10 habits that make me more positive, and
Yeah,
there's got to be one on there that you can do and fit in your day. So honestly, no more excuses, everybody. There's plenty we can do.
for sure. I
But
love that. Love
yeah,
that. No more excuses. Control what you can control what you can control, or I've said, control the controllables, right?
yeah.
That's beautiful. And then here's the other thing when you said, I don't even know what the word you use, when other people might call it
Oh,
like
Pollyanna.
yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Love that word. But it's like, just because you look at it things negatively doesn't mean that I have to. Like, don't put your limitations on me. You might feel this way, but don't put that on me. Even in the workplace, or talking about teachers and students and stuff like that. Oh, you have Brandon? Oh my gosh, what a freaking headache. And then you're gonna get his brother next year, or we had his brother too.
Right.
That whole family is like, don't cut somebody else's legs off under them. Like, don't let somebody else's experiences be your experiences. I hate
Mhm.
when people do that, or like on baseball teams, football teams, whatever. Oh, here comes this kid. It's like, you might have had a bad experience, but people change, things
Right.
change. And then what happens? Now
Absolutely.
you're in this habit of, again, seeing things negatively.
And we are just creatures of habit, man.
I know we're at the start of the year for
Yeah.
teachers and students, and maybe some employees that are maybe district employees that took some time off, and now we're vamping up again. Speaking on that, you said that you talk about burnout. This is a big thing that I speak on too, and I'm like ready with my pen and paper to
Mhm.
learn. How do we prevent that from happening, and how do you inform us now so we know what to look for so we don't get burned out this year?
Yeah, absolutely. A wonderful question. And I'm glad that's your cup of tea as well, right? That's your vibe. First of all, I think everybody knows the basics, right? Everyone tells you set healthy boundaries and that be realistic with yourself. And I think we all have heard that. To apply it is important too. For me, my main goal and foundation, what has allowed me to stay high energy, as you pointed out, again, compliment received, thank you.
Mhm.
How have I become an outlier in almost everything that I've done?
Ooh,
Been because of my high energy, attention to detail, consistency. So, how have I always had that? For me, I think the number one thing that has allowed me to continuously be successful and not burn out and be happy and flourishing is a good, solid, strict schedule in our lives. A lot of people think it's unsexy. A lot of people think it sounds too easy. It has to be more complex. But to me, I can tell you in 4 weeks on a school day, you'd give me a time of day, I can tell you what I'll be doing. And I want to go further into that though. The reason I think a schedule is important isn't just because you can get more stuff done, but that you have to build in the things that fill you up. So I like to call them your ers, right? You're a teacher, a father, a workouter, a music listener, a baker, right? Whatever your ers are, some of them you love and they fill you up, and some of them there are responsibilities, that maybe you just have to do, and that's okay too. That's reality and part of life. But when you start looking at your ers that build you up and fill you up, you've got to intentionally find little time every day to fill those roles, because if they're filling you up, you should build that into your day. So for me, obviously family and being a husband is important to me. So breakfast with my kids, dinner with my children is important. Bedtime routines. You've got high schoolers, so bedtime routines probably a little different for you now. They're like, hey, go shower, you're dirty, and go to bed. But I've got younger ones, 11 and 8, though my 11-year-old doesn't need me anymore. So family time. I love to learn. So I need time every day for either reading, listening to a podcast, or an audiobook. I love music. It energizes me. I need time to listen to music. I need time to be creative and create without any red tape, which is why I like social media and creating my videos. It's me. No one can tell me what I can or can't do. It's freeing, and I love that, right? I obviously work for a public school, Juan, so there is red tape, and that's understandable. It's to protect the children. I get it, So I love that freedom. I have to work out and exercise Monday through Friday. That fills me up. It's built into my day. I have to practice gratitude because that sets me up for positive. So I could go on and on and on. Maybe people are hearing this and thinking, well, I don't want to do any of those things. That's fine. But what are the things you do want to do? And if you don't schedule them in, someone's going to fill that slot with something else that doesn't fill you up. It's simple as that. Or I'm going to turn to my phone on accident because I don't have it scheduled. And I don't blame you. It's addicting. I mean, I'm getting dopamine hits like crazy. But when we build in the good stuff, I like to say, build in the good stuff, and all of a sudden when you start laying your head down at night on that pillow and you've hit all those ers that fill you up, all of a sudden you're like, damn, I had a good day. And I did a lot of things that filled me up. I got a lot off my checklist, and I didn't have to spend the extra energy at night going, oh man, I didn't get that workout in. Oh, I didn't get in the kitchen and make something for dinner tonight or see my kids. Right. But if we build that in, we're more likely to feel a heck of a lot more energized and feel like we're in control of our life. And then when the unknowns come our way, which they always do, curveballs come every day, we're way more resilient because we have the energy and the patience to stop, look at the situation, and as you said earlier, control the controllables. But if we're putting out fires constantly, it's hard to do that and not just react and, as someone else is running our life.
What I hear you saying is confidence comes from preparation, right? So that's the schedule, right? I know what's coming next, so I'm confident in my schedule. I feel good because I understand what's coming next. Yeah, things are going to be changing. Schedules might change. Hey, you're picking this person up instead of this, or you're going here instead of there. Things get flip-flopped, but because you had it written down, because you knew about it, like there's confidence that comes from that. And then you said something like our phones, we can get addicted to it. Like, yes, I do my stuff for my content, but sometimes we might get distracted by accident. And I heard a saying one time, if you're not intentionally getting better, you might be accidentally getting worse.
Oh, I love that.
Like, and I think that happens a lot. And this is what complacency looks like.
Yes.
And if we can go here for a second, how are you intentionally getting better for others? Like, how do you show up for others to make sure that you're helping them? But at the same time, I'm intentional, so I'm not getting worse, and then my students aren't getting worse or whatever.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways. And I think someone said pretty aggressively, right? If we're not growing, we're dying. And I thought, well, that's pretty aggressive, but I think it's a good point.
Yeah.
So I do naturally like to grow. I'm naturally curious every day. So for me, built in, like I said, some of my ers is I'm a reader and a learner. So I love reading about positive psychology and things that light me up. I'm a science guy too, so I'm very big into nonfiction. But that is something that allows me to learn that I can apply to my classroom so I can help my students better manage their lives and better prepare for life after high school. It allows me to be a better father because I can show them by example and also teach them and talk about the things I've learned. And then as a husband, it allows me to become a better communicator and more self-aware. I think a lot of times when we learn, right, it's natural to selfishly reflect back on ourselves and say, do I follow that? Do I subscribe to that? And if not, is that okay? And do I need to make changes? And I think that's a beautiful process of learning. So every time you meet someone new and you learn from them, you then reflect back to yourself to grow. So as far as how do I continuously grow? Absolutely reading. And also I am very intentional about who I follow and watch on social media.
Ooh, say that one again.
Yeah, very intentional about who I follow on social media. I want people that are filling me up, filling my bucket up for sure, so that when I'm scrolling, I don't end up doom scrolling where everything's falling apart,
Yep.
or I start getting super scarcity mindset where just everything is happening to me, not for me and against me. And I think the people I choose to surround myself with, not only physically, but also virtually, is so impactful and important. And is once we start paying attention to that, and I literally only follow along with people that I feel like are trying to make the world a better place and give to others, then I feel like that algorithms, though, they pick it up, and all of a
Oh, for
sudden I'm
sure.
getting a lot of good stuff and good content that helps me grow, as opposed to just keeps me stagnant or fall behind.
I try not to stay on my phone, but it's purposeful on Sundays. It's kind of like, and I've called it see you later Sunday. And I'll go through my feed and I'm like, I don't need to see this.
Mm,
Hide or unfriend or
yeah.
unfollow, right? Even on my Explorer page, there's stuff on there. And if it's not growing me and it's slowing me, right? Nope, sorry, done. Because like you said, the algorithm will be like, there's these two things on this picture. Well, did he like this or did she like this? Like what did they like?
Right.
Let's show them this. Oh, they liked it or they spent time on it. That's the other thing. If you click on it, you don't have to like it, but if you spent time on it, it's going to say, oh, here's something different. Here's something similar. And then pretty soon, if I'm just being real, you'll have a whole bunch of TNA on there or a
Yeah.
whole bunch of negativity of, politics stuff. And,
Yes.
you share something with somebody and somebody shares something with you. And maybe it is political views, whatever it is. Then it just starts to feed you just all this stuff. And then you're like, did you hear what happened with so-and-so?
Yeah.
Did you hear what happened? And then forget it. Like it changes you. So yes, I love that you say I intentionally put people in my circle of influence, if you will,
Sure.
not just in person, but on virtual or on my, social media as well.
Sure. I mean, all those thoughts that go into your head, impact you physically, mentally, emotionally. We have to be the gatekeepers of our wellness for sure. And I think a lot of it starts with those subtle interactions virtually. I think we are more likely to pick up, ooh, I shouldn't hang around this person in person. They're just not my kind of vibe or whatever. But I don't know if it's as easy to pick up when it's on social media, because it's just so convenient and fast. So yeah, let's be intentional about it.
Speaking about growth,
Okay.
you said this in the beginning about the Positive Growth Lounge. What can we expect in the Positive Growth Lounge? Tell me a little bit about that.
Thanks. I'm so glad you brought it up. I'm so excited about this. So post-COVID, and education has been dramatically changing in the nation in a lot of different ways. And that's totally understandable. A lot of things should change, but change is hard for a lot of adults and humans. And I've got a lot of great coworkers that are amazing teachers that are struggling and starting to really burn out or feel overwhelmed. But connecting like this, meeting great positive people like you, it can reframe our perspective and realize that we have maybe a lot more in control than we do. And we can choose to try to make the best out of a unique or confusing situation. So the Positive Growth Lounge is going to be a bi-monthly virtual meeting. We're going to meet Wednesday nights for any type of educator that's positive, looking to personally take better care of themselves, mentally, emotionally, physically, so that they can feel way more like they're flourishing, so they can pour into their students more. So unlike a lot of educator groups that were working on lesson plans and looking into, I don't know, just the new science behind how students learn, this is all about social, emotional, physical, mental wellness of educators, anyone in the building. And I'm going to be there running the meeting. So it's going to be great just because I'm going to do all the work. You're going to show up and sit back, and we're going to interact, learn, network. I'm going to give a new topic about something from positive psychology, tangible stuff, bring in guests that can light them up. And from there, they'll naturally grow their circle of influence by meeting other positive people. And from that, I really hope it creates some really huge positive waves in the education system.
That's beautiful. So because teachers and educators, or bosses, managers, whatever, give, but this is something that's going to fill them up so they can be fueled to continue to push and move forward. I love that. Is there something that you can give us today, maybe from a sneak peek of the Positive Growth Lounge or anything that you usually speak on that's tangible, free of choice, whatever you want our listeners to learn? Hey, here's something I need you guys to do 1, 2, 3 and try this today. It makes your week better or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it overlaps a lot with what I said earlier. And I'd love to, I could send the link so they could, I could share the documentation, the 3 steps. For me, to start feeling like you're flourishing more, my step 1 is, as I mentioned earlier, think about all your ers. All right. All those things that you do. And from there, do a little audit and circle those ers, maybe 5 of the top ones that you feel like really fill you up. Now, those are your priority. I'm not saying quit your job and only do those things, but I'm saying if those top 5 things really fill you up, then you should intentionally find a way to build it in. Maybe it's only 15 minutes a day for each of those ers. So I go through the steps, find your ers, write out your schedule for the next couple of days so that those 5 things, those ers are built in there. Then from there, once you get your schedule down, which we all know that takes some time, that takes tweaking. And as always, a schedule's never perfect and life will never let you have a nice flawless schedule, but you'll feel more in control. You'll be hitting more of the buttons to fill you up. Then what I like to say is you start leaning into your purpose. You really start to think about what are the unique gifts that you have or talents that make you you, that light you up. So for me, I love to cook and bake. Now that has nothing to do with my job, but I love to bring that to people in a way to give to them. So maybe I'll make a special cake for someone and surprise them. Maybe I'll just whip out the griddles and start making breakfast for my students. But that's one of my personal things that I love, that lifts me up, that makes me feel so good to give to others. And when they see that, that's not in my job description, right? That's not an expectation. But then all of a sudden, these walls come down. People see you as your vulnerable human self. You're giving to them and inviting them into your life. What it does is it creates so much better human connection. And of course, like just a positive spiral and a boost of energy. So step 1, find your ers. Step 2, build in the good stuff. And then when you're ready and on top of it, start thinking about how can I start serving others with some of my unique gifts. Juan, maybe you write a hell of a poem. Maybe you could start writing little poems to people. It could be a neighbor. I don't care who, but that would appreciate it, that would fill you up and fill them up too. It's a beautiful thing when you can really get to that level where you're overflowing and can pour into other people.
That's beautiful. What I hear, the message that I hear you say with this, it starts with, we know what we're against and not many people know what they're for.
Sure.
Mind shift of know what you're for. This is what's for me. This is what builds me up. And I'm for, my purpose. I'm for my students, my employees, my whatever. And then once I know my ers and I know what I'm for, and I know my purpose, then I can serve. And serving's great. And I think this is a lesson for everybody, is what's the difference between fast food and restaurants, right? In fast food, we were just talking about prior to coming on here about Shake Shack and In-N-Out and stuff like that. We order, we pay, and then we get our food. As opposed to a sit-down restaurant, right? We were talking about Cheesecake Factory. You sit down, go through their 182-page menu, but you get served and then you pay. You get your food first and then you pay. And a lot of us want to have a fast food mentality as opposed to let me serve first. Let me serve you first and then you can pay me with your heart. And so this, how can I serve piece? I love that. I absolutely love that.
It reminds me that mentality. There's a networking group, virtual. They're called Virtual 5 o'clock. They started during the pandemic. 2 really nice dudes in New York. They bring in professionals, kind of like a LinkedIn vibe, but they bring special guests. But anyways, their mantra is when you join, the first thing you should try to do is help 5 people. Then once you help 5 people in the group, introduce them to someone, open a door. Then we're curious on what your ask is. How can we help or serve you? But serve first. And when they described that to me, I thought, what a beautiful thing. And I try to do that now in LinkedIn just when I connect with someone. First of all, I'm excited to connect with you. Second of all, is there anything I can do organically that's going to help you in some way. I'm not looking for anything, maybe right now or ever, but I'm happy to help you if I'm able to. And I think that approach really does, again, breaks down walls, allows you to feel better about yourself. Giving is
Mm,
such a good vibe. I mean, it's such a good energizer. And I think that's another way to avoid burnout when we feel like we're
mm.
giving, but in a good way, not just
Right,
giving to burn out.
right.
I think it really can make a difference.
I love that. Help 5 people, introduce them to others, and then finally ask, what is your ask? And here's the cool thing about this has been my experience with you. You've asked me, what do you need from me? Like, how can I help you? And I'm like,
Mm.
it kind of took me back because I was like, I thought we were kind of doing an intro. And my thought would be like, hey, Juan, can we do this or can we do that? And instead of it being me, like what you're like, I'm trying to get something from you. It was like, no, I want to know what I can do for you. And so people listening, Phil doesn't just say this, he's practicing it. And this was my genuine first introduction to you. And I remember, and I think I might still have the message of what do you need, which is amazing. So my thing is, people, if you're listening or when you're listening, understand that Phil's a great person, and not just the high energy, and not just the father and the husband and the teacher and all this other stuff, because it's not just. I said that sarcastically, the just part, because then you have a lot of hats on. But he's a man of integrity and honesty he practiced what he preaches and what he believes in. And I absolutely love that. You have more than just a positive growth lounge, which is your stuff. I've seen a couple things that you've posted online. Kind of let us know how else can we connect with you. And I know you have a ton of stuff. I want you to be selfish right now and let people give the people the laundry list. I know we were talking about a couple things, but just put it on people. I want people to have every ounce of Phil that they can get.
Well, thank you. And thank you for the kind words earlier. It's fully received. Thank you. First of all, me personally, if people are looking to just get in touch with me to simply network or learn from each other, I'm always around on all social media outlets. Just my name, Phil Januszewski. That's my handle everywhere, whatever it is, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn. I'm there and I'm around. But I'm always pushing out positivity just in case anyone could use it for the day when you're scrolling by. It started genuinely for my students, and I started getting a lot of feedback from adults and students, parents that said, I really appreciate what you're doing. It makes an impact on my day. So I doubled down and started doing it more. So I'm always there for you if you're just looking for a little positive psychology bump for your day. As myself as an educator, I'm a keynote speaker and help teachers avoid burnout. So I'd love to speak if anyone's ever looking to get a bump with their group of teachers, educators, paras, and the positive growth lounge, as you mentioned, I'm all about and looking to just really make the world a better place and happier place for educators. And then I have another thing. I speak with my best bud, Matt. We're called M&P Presentations, LLC, and we do keynote presentations for young adults that help them build self-confidence in a very real, tangible way. It's very comedy-driven, improv-driven, but has a really strong message. We like to say we're like a Pixar film, Juan. There's a lot of adult humor and fun in it. And then when you leave and think back, you're like, man, wow, there was a lot of good points there. So you're busy laughing, but there's actually a lot to learn and a lot of tangibles to take away. So we absolutely love lighting up a room and hyping up a group so that they can feel more confident and actually taking healthy risks to learn and grow. And I think a lot of students right now need that extra encouragement. Hey, go out for a new team, try something new, apply for a job, ask someone if you can shadow them. And there's so many things that I think we're holding back on, and kids really need the guidance right now. So
Absolutely. I think a big one that I've challenged people to do is ask someone if they're open to being your mentor. Like if you love what they do, what they live for, and they're better at finances than you, or leadership, or parenting, like, hey, how do you do this? After you're asking, so many questions, say, hey, have you ever taken somebody under your wing, like to help and to grow? Because I look up to you, and just be open with that. But you'd be surprised how many people are willing to say yes to that question.
So true. In fact, there's a gentleman named Derek Kinney who's a financial guy online, and I read his book, and it was all about trying to make more money so that you can do more good in the world. And it really resonated with me. And I reached out to him and just told him I'm just a big fan. And I said, and this is a total shot in the dark, said, if you ever wanted a random teacher on there that's also kind of an entrepreneur, I do a lot of different things, just trying to make money so I can make more money to do good and put more good out in the world. I love to share my insights that might bring value. Was fully expecting to be ignored, but I put myself out there. 2 days later, he's like, that's really interesting point of view. He's like, let's jump on a 10-minute Zoom and just talk. And he's like, you know what, I think this would be really great for people from your point of view. So it's like, you never know. You could get a no, absolutely, but you definitely get a no if you don't even try.
Right, right. So on the Positive Growth Lounge, I don't think you said this yet. You said it when you and I were just setting up, but that starts in October. But you mentioned that something's happening in September. Can you let the listeners know what's happening in September?
Yeah, thanks so much. If you go to positivegrowthlounge.com, super simple, you can check out what the Growth Lounge is about. But on September 27th, that's a Wednesday night. I'm in Central Time Zone, so that's 7:30 p.m. Central Time Zone. I'm doing a free Positive Growth Lounge meetup where we do our regular coaching session where you'll get to see like, hey, what is this even about? Who's showing up? We're gonna have breakout sessions and a little theme for the night to think about and actually do some self-reflection. So if anyone's at all curious, it's a super easy way to just check it out and see, does this Phil guy have something valuable, or is he just annoying and needs a haircut?
It's a taste test, if you will. It's a free test drive.
Yeah.
So why not? You're not gonna hurt from it. You're only gonna grow from it, and it's gonna start. You said at 7 Central Time. How long are you guys going?
Yeah, 7:30 p.m. Central Time to 8:30. It's 1 hour, and then if you end up deciding, you know what, this is my cup of tea, the membership will meet twice a month only on Wednesday nights, 7:30 p.m. Central Time to 8:30. So it's 2 hours a month, but it should be something that I'm hoping that I know we'll really look forward to and be filled up by a couple times a month.
An easy investment. I think that's a lot of times for educators, just people in general. You might go and get, one-on-one coaching for your kid in soccer or baseball. You take them to practice every week, and I just don't have time for me. This is a perfect time for you, especially when you need some type of positive growth there. Hey, last two questions before I let you go. What have you done, read, who or what has helped you raise the bar for yourself?
Oh my gosh. That's an overwhelming question because I feel like so many people I surround myself with consistently help me raise the bar. I would say that the number one thing that raises my bar is networking like this, meeting great people like you, and then naturally you say, you know what, I think you should meet so-and-so. And by simply learning about people, learning what they do and their passions and how they're positively impacting the world, that pushes me to want to be a bigger contributor to the world. You always take something from everyone you meet, whether it's, I don't want to do that or I'm going to do that. That's a good idea, but it allows you to become a slightly better version of yourself. So for me, raising the bar is all about the networking. And from that, I find so much joy and so much energy from other good people's stories. It's so energizing.
What kind of advice can you give our listeners and myself of how can we raise the bar?
Yeah, I think we need to be realistic that life is busy, absolutely, and there's a lot going on, but when we're intentional about a little bit of growth every day, right? A lot of people say be 1% better every day. You chisel away at that. That is such an attainable goal. Every day you should focus on, did I learn something new, or did I do something that allowed me to be a little bit better than the day before? And if we subscribe to that, if we believe in it and we actually follow through with it, it's amazing what a year can do to you and what 5 years can do to your life and the people you're surrounded by and the impact you can make. Sometimes we play too small and don't realize what we can do for ourselves and the world around us. And it only takes a little bit of consistency every single day.
Lastly, it's something new that I wanted to add in on this season, freestyle. Freestyle being, is there something, a message maybe that you're working on that you want to see if it lands? Like a lot of us, in speakers, we're going to see if this works and let me try it on this.
Yeah.
Maybe it's your go-to line, mic drop moment or whatever kind of freestyle. You have the mic, you're on stage. What is like your mic drop moment? And the show is all yours.
that our lives we're ordinary people, but everyday ordinary is absolutely extraordinary when we start to dive into it. The impact we can make, the little ripples that can turn into huge waves of positivity and change, make a difference. And something that my best bud Matt and I have been working on a lot and living lately is the phrase, why not? The idea that when we're looking to grow, when we're looking to reach out to someone, when we're looking to put ourselves out there, why not? Why couldn't it be me that could happen to? Why not try it? The worst that could happen is no. So we are definitely subscribing to that in our own personal lives and as a business as well. And it's paid off.
Dude, you are freaking amazing. So if you need to get a hold of Phil in any way, shape, or form on any platforms, we will have everything down in the show notes. Phil, thank you so much for being a blessing, not only to me, but to the listeners and to the hundreds and thousands of people that you impact every single day. And thank you for being faithful to the gift that you've been given to teach and to speak. And I would even say on a smaller scale, in a personal level, for being an awesome dad and an awesome husband. Thank you.
Wow. Fully received and completely humbled by that. Thank you, man. The opportunity's been outstanding. I believe in what you do, and I'm looking forward to serving and helping you out, man, in the future. Thanks. I'm so glad we connected.
Thank you so much. We will see you guys on the next episode.